Buffalo Live, your new home for Buffalo sports content. Each episode will include both Buffalo sports teams, the Bills and Sabres. If you're interested in the Sabres, the second half of the show is going to be great for you. If you're interested in the Bills talk, the first half is all yours. Interested in both? Listen to the entire thing. The choice is yours. Also follow the podcast on Twitter at Buffalo Live Pod and on YouTube. Links to both will be in the description below. The Bills went to MetLife Stadium and took on the New York Jets and lost a close one, 21-17. In that game, we saw Allen throw 2 interceptions and the Jets rushing 140 yards on the number one rush defense in the NFL. Allen had to say this after the game: "It's tough to win games when your quarterback is playing like shit." This was Allen's worst game since 2019 versus the Patriots, when he went 13 of 20, 153 yards and 3 interceptions, and as a passer rating of 24.0. Diggs defended Allen by saying he didn't play like shit and he had a couple bad plays. McDermott also adding, "We played too one-dimensional at times." Okay, let's put some blame on Dorsey here, right? I mean, Dorsey doesn't like to run the ball. I mean, we have Josh Allen, who is the best quarterback in this league. I mean, or at least one of the best quarterbacks in this league. I mean, there's much more to this loss than just the Bills and Josh Allen didn't play good, right? The Bills couldn't run the football. I mean, the Bills just didn't run the football well. I mean, we haven't been running the football good all year. And I mean, it's not that we can't run the ball. I mean, we see Singletary all the time. He's playing pretty. When he gets his chances to run, he's been running really, really well. So I mean, so you got to think of it this way: the running game is not going to get better by itself. It's not. Dorsey's going to have to start calling some runs, but it also kind of relies on how good are we training our offensive line to run the ball, right? We hired Cromer in the offseason to try to get this offensive line better, and obviously our run blocking hasn't been good because we haven't been calling enough runs. I believe we called 22 runs last game, and we threw it like 38 times in that win. Yeah, Josh Allen went 18 of 34 in that game, which again, he went 52% passing in that game, which again, back to what I just said earlier, he went 13 of 28, which is basically almost the same thing as 18 of 34. So I mean, this was literally his worst game since 2019 when he played the Patriots. So this run game is not going to get better by itself. I mean, we're going to have to start run blocking better, and Dorsey's going to have to be calling some more runs. I mean, yeah, could Davis be a problem, not catching the football or not getting open as much as we thought he was going to after the AFC divisional game? For sure. But the main problem here is that the Bills are just not running the ball enough, or not more effective than what I guess Dorsey and McDermott and Cromer were hoping for this season. I mean, we added Questenberry, we added Saffold. I mean, two guys who can obviously run block and pass block, but apparently it's not working. I mean, we did add Hines in the offseason. I mean, by the trade deadline, or at the trade deadline, basically. Like, it was like 3:56 the trade came in the trade deadline last week. So, I mean, he only got 3 offensive snaps. 3. He only got 3 offensive touches, according to Joe Pasquale of The Athletic. So that's a problem. Obviously, he's still learning this offense, but I mean, with an easy offense to learn, you were expecting him to get more than just 3 snaps, 3 offensive plays in that game against the Jets. I mean, we did see James Cook in that game against the Jets. I mean, he played pretty well, right? He played decently well. I mean, obviously, That's probably the most touches he's going to get all season. But with adding Hines, I mean, I think that's what the Bills are going to hope for, right? They're going to hope for that Hines can bring a more effective running game to this team, honestly. And I hope that because Josh Allen obviously is getting tested now for UCL. I mean, that play that he got injured could potentially end the Bills season. And let's pray to God that's not the thing, right? Not like a torn UCL or something that severe, because it could be that severe. Uh, uh, and maybe Super Bowl hopes in Buffalo end, but obviously then in this next season. But I mean, this is Bills' year. Vegas had us winning the Super Bowl. ESPN had us winning the Super Bowl. So running the football is going to be a priority. I mean, McDermott says we was too one-dimensional. I mean, we were playing just passing all game. I mean, we threw it 34 times. 34. In the beginning of the season, yeah. I mean, maybe weeks 1 through what, 6, you can throw. We got away with throwing the ball 30, 35, 40 times a game. But now it's mid-season. It's week 10 already. The Bills play the Jets and it was week 9. You're not going to get away with throwing the ball 35, 45 times a game mid-season, not even in the postseason. You're not. I'm sorry. That is the dead honest truth. And a lot of people don't like the dead honest truth. The Bills are not gonna go anywhere if the Bills just don't start running the ball more effectively. I'm not saying the Bills have to run 30 times with Nyheim Hines and Singletary. I'm not saying that. They're going to have to run the ball effectively, like they did last year. Run it on first and second down, make third down easier. Make it third and short instead of 3rd and 9, right? Right? Incompletion on first down, 1 yard on second down. That means your offense is battling a 3rd and 9. You don't want to battle a 3rd and 9, right? That's where turnovers come in, right? That's where turnovers come into play. The Bills are the third. They had the third most turnovers this season. Listen to that. 14 turnovers. That is third most out of any other team in the NFL. That is a crazy stat. You think for a Sean McDermott team that is well disciplined, has the third most turnovers in this league. The third most. That's a little alarming. I mean, this team has to get back to fundamental football. And they're not playing good fundamental football. If you're going to turn the ball over 14 times in 9 games. 14 times in 9 games, that's almost a turnover half per game. That's either it's a fumble or a Josh Allen interception. I mean, the Bills have one of the best takeaway defenses in the NFL. But one of the worst turnover offenses in this league. That's not going to win you games. I mean, the defense obviously kept Buffalo into this game, even with missing Poyer and Milano. Right? The Bills didn't have Milano. Milano was a late scratch, along with Trey White. Trey White was expected to play, then did not play at all. Which, I mean, missing Trey White doesn't really mean anything, because he was out for 6 weeks of the season anyways. 7 weeks of the season anyways. So with 8, I mean, what the Bills are 6-2, so 8 games. So he was already out the first 8 games anyways. So that doesn't have a really deep, significant impact yet. But I think that White injury is definitely catching up to them, because the Bills are banged up, right? Miller missed the game, missed practice this week. Some practice this week heading into the Jets game with an ankle injury. Milano, I think, was a hamstring. Poyer was his elbow. I thought he was going to play this weekend. because according to his girlfriend, he didn't wear his brace. But apparently, it was a little bit worse than not wearing his brace. But he's also been dealing with a rib injury, right? This Bills team is banged up. They are feeling the heat right now of an NFL season. They are. I mean, it's more than just turnovers. It's more than just Gabe Davis not catching the football. I seen a stat today. He's only catching 53% of his passes. That's not really good enough. I mean, you look at Diggs in the first half against the Jets. Diggs had, let's see, let me quickly pull it up and see if I can quickly find it. Diggs had, I think, 5 catches for 95 yards in that first half against the Jets. He said they played man in the first half a lot and too high in the second half. So they played man in the first half and realized, oh, dang, we can't be playing man coverage against Stephon Diggs, or Josh Allen and company are just going to light us up. And that's what happened in the first half. And the Bills only scored 14 points, which is not good enough. That's plain not good enough if Josh Allen has a 36-yard rushing touchdown and just one and finishes this first half with 0 touchdown passes and 1 interception, and then here all of a sudden the Jets win 20-17. That's not good enough. I mean, 95 yards, he had on the day. I believe he had 5 catches for 95 yards. Stephon Diggs, no touchdowns. Bills went into the Jets last year and blew the top off them. Obviously, the Jets were way worse in the secondary last year, but I mean, I thought coming into this game, this is going to be more of the same because of how Zach Wilson played last week. But let's take a look at the overall numbers for both of these teams heading into this week on this matchup, and really tell you both teams defensively are really good. They're really good. Both teams defensively are really good. The Jets had Buffalo to 317 total yards. On average, they're 6th in the NFL in total yards. Per game, the Jets are allowing 311.4 yards per game. So that's about roughly 5.5 more yards than what they would normally let up. So that's pretty consistent. Held Buffalo to 17 points. How often do you see Buffalo being held to 17 points? Well, let me tell you, the Jets are 11th in NFL opposing points per game because they're allowing 19.9. So the Bills didn't even score 20 points in this game, but the Jets are allowing about 3 more points than what they were averaging per game. And how about this? They held Buffalo to 5.2 yards per play, and they're third in opponent yards per play, 4.7. Well, obviously the numbers really show from this game that the Jets have a really good defense, and that's what's going to keep them in ball games, is their defense. I mean, Zach Wilson is not at high caliber just yet. I feel like he could potentially break out next year. Excuse me. Could he? I mean, you saw the graphic during the ball game that Josh Allen's and Zach Wilson numbers through 2 seasons of play were roughly the same. They were roughly the same, honestly. So to me, that shows me that Zach Wilson could definitely break out next year, for sure. This is Zach Wilson's second season in the NFL. For sure, he can break out next year. Why can't he? I mean, New York has a pretty good team. Yes, I am a Bills fan. I'm saying the Jets have a pretty good team. They do. They have a good defense. All they might need to do is maybe add another receiver or 2. But other than that, I think the Jets could be a pretty decent team. Do I think they're making the playoffs this year? Probably not. I hope not. I don't want to face the Jets in the playoffs again. I mean, based off after this performance, I don't want to see the Jets. We get the Dolphins, and I think we play the Jets, then we get the Dolphins back to back. So it'd be revenge games. But another important thing to note about the Bills right now, they're 0-2 in their division. I mean, that's pretty significant. If you look at me, that is pretty significant right now. That is, out of anything, that is the worst thing that's the one thing that looks really bad. Over over the run defense, over the poor running game, Allen throwing things, Allen's injury. Well, maybe Allen's injury is more significant than the 0-2 record in the division, but that's one thing right now that looks really bad. All right, back to the numbers. For Buffalo, they allow Jets to score 20 points. Defensively, the Bills are first in points allowed and 14.0 points per game. So the Bills allowed the Jets to score 6 more points than their average. Obviously, it's hard to keep teams at 14 points a game, but this is what this Bills defense have shown in the first 8 games of the season. You're not going to score against this team. What's going to keep you? How you're going to beat the Bills is by stopping us on offense and capitalizing on when you get the ball. It means you got to take the ball away from us or stop us, and you've got to go down to the other side of the field and score for yourself. Buffalo had allowed 310 yards. 174 of those were on the ground. The Bills are number 3 in opposing yards per game, allowing 298.1 yards per game. So, according to those numbers, the Bills look like allowed about 13 more yards than they would normally allow. This is the one stat that doesn't seem right, but is maybe worth noting. It says the Bills are number 1 in opposing yards per play, and opposing teams are averaging 0.234. I don't think that's right. I obviously don't think that's right, but wherever I got those stats from, but they allowed 5.1 yards per play against a Jets offense, and it's not good. I'm going to tell you, it's not good. Spoiler alert, Jets fans. The Jets offense is not good. No, it's not. The Jets offense is not good at all. Their defense, on the other hand, it's keeping them. That's why they're keeping themselves at 6-2, I think the record is. But another big problem is, again, it's turnovers. Again, I'm going to bring that up again. They have the third most turnovers in football. That also goes into the red zone. Let's talk about that, right? The Bills are 17th ranked red zone scoring in the entire National Football League. Let that sink in for a second. The Bills have Diggs, have Allen as the first. Let's recycle that. Allen at quarterback, Diggs, Davis, Knox as their pass catchers. And they're 17th in red zone scoring at 53.5%. That don't seem right to me. You have all this talent, and you tell me the Bills are 17th in red zone scoring? We're going to be talking about the Sabres later in the show and how they can't capitalize scoring. The Bills can't even score in the red zone. They're 17th. That is middle of the pack. That is the middle of the pack red zone scoring offense. That alarms me, honestly. Where's OBJ? Yeah, help us, right? Hopefully. I mean, honestly, look at this. 17th in ranked red zone scoring? I can't. How do you explain that to Bills fans? How does Ken Dorsey answer this question? Why are the Bills 17th in ranked 17th in scoring red zone. That was a problem last year for the Buffalo Bills. They couldn't score in the red zone. They couldn't score in the red zone for crap last year. They couldn't. And that's another occurring problem this year. I mean, the Bills have to find a way to score in the red zone. They can't be scoring these. I mean, we all love big plays. Don't get me wrong. I love that 99-yard throw from Gabe Davis at the 2-yard line on 3rd and 10 against the Steelers. Those plays are great. But when we get inside the 20, I want us to score touchdowns. I don't want us settling for field goals inside the 20. I want us to score touchdowns. And if we're only scoring touchdowns 53% of the time with Stephon Diggs, Isaiah McKenzie, and everyone else on this offense, which is supposed to be explosive, that is not good enough. I'm not trying to knock down this. If you're thinking this is knocking down the Bills, it's not. It's giving you the stats and it's telling you the truth that right now things are just not good enough. Things were great. Things were great weeks 1 through 6. Things are not great right now in weeks 8 and 9. They're not. I mean, we're heading into week 10 against the Minnesota Vikings this Sunday. It's supposed to be 38 degrees and with some snow. That's the projected forecast for this Sunday. And we're going up against Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. That offense and Kirk Cousins. That's not good enough. If you're gonna face Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, we'll talk Bills Vikings later in the week. But again, 53% in the red zone right now is not going to win you a football game. Obviously, the Bills did have a couple stinkers last year against the Jaguars. All right, the 9-3 game where the entire week people were saying, yeah, the Bills need to get better. And then they lost to Indy, and then they beat the Saints, and then they got on track. The Bills will bounce back from this. No doubt about it. The Bills will bounce back from this. But I do want to say there is some real concerns with this team. Short term, there's a short term, long term, and other to this, right? Short term, this team needs to stay healthy. Milano and Poyer. That's long term. Long term, the Bills need to stay healthy. Short term, they need to fix this game. They need to fix this. Allen needs to get back on track, right? That's the short term. That's the short term problem right now. Allen needs to get back on track. If Allen can't get back on track, this team's going down. It's literally, he's our quarterback and he's the reason why we're winning games. Obviously, right? But the other part of this is the run game. The run game is the other here. Is that we need to find a way to run the ball effectively. We have to. It can't be just the Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs show for 18 weeks. It can't. As much as we would love it to be the Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs show, that is not how football works. Ever since we lost that AFC championship game, the one concern I've always been having is not the run defense. It's this run offense. I mean, I love Singletary. Singletary is a great back. Love him. Not a Singletary hater, but say we got somebody like Kareem Hunt for Devin Singletary, for sure I would take that offer because it gives us a reliable source in the backfield. Or maybe that's what's a little too extreme. We trade a Singletary. I would definitely have a really adverse reaction to that if we trade a Singletary. But thinking about trades to make this team better, we need or something that make this team better is we need a pure running back. Singletary is not a pure running back. We drafted Zach Moss, and he was a bust. That's why we traded him away for Nyheim Hines. Hines was obviously a guy the Bills really wanted since the COVID summer, which is fine by me. Hines can be that key, right? He can be that key that at whatever time we need him, he can be there. He could be that first down, second down, third down back. He can be that wide receiver that running back screen back. He can do that, right? Now I want to transition this to Packers Lions really quick before we head into Sabres talk. Is that the Lions beat the Packers 15-9. Packers did score, failed on a 2-point conversion or missed the extra point. Don't know which one it was, but they scored 9 points against a Lions defense, which is horrible. I mean, that is a really bad defense, and this team was scored. Got a couple things that I wrote down was Aaron Jones left in a boot, his left foot. Dobbs' right foot was in a boot and a crutch. And their safety Stokes, his right foot was also in a boot and a crutch. So they're now dealing with some injuries just like the Bills are. But the Packers haven't been good all year. And I don't blame Matt LaFleur. I don't blame the young rookie quarterback, wide receivers. I blame the quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. He is the 100% blame. Maybe not, he's not 100%. He's 90, maybe 80% worth of the blame, and 20% is the front office. And Matt LaFleur, okay, maybe it's 80-15-5. 5% is Matt LaFleur. I'll put some blame on Matt LaFleur. But he's not the total person to blame. It's Aaron Rodgers in this front office. Aaron Rodgers wanted his money, and he got his money, and Adams left. This front office doesn't want to draft a wide receiver for him. That's why Aaron Rodgers got pissed. Because he wanted a wide receiver. He wanted some help. He wanted a say in who gets drafted and who gets traded and who gets playing time and starting time. He wanted a say in how this team ran. The GM said no. The front office said no. So there is some blame on Rodgers. Most of it is on Rodgers. He's also didn't attend OTAs. Right? He didn't attend OTAs. How is Dobbs and Watson supposed to get experience with a quarterback that is in his later half of his in the later half of his career, later part of his career? I mean, there's nothing else really to say about why the Packers are that bad. Because there's no culture. We'll put it this way: the culture is broken in Green Bay. It is. It is a very toxic environment in Green Bay right now. Rodgers is blaming his receivers and also Matt LaFleur. He's not calling out just the wide receivers here. He called out his coach last week. So if there's anything, Aaron Rodgers is making everything toxic. Yeah, would he like a receiver at the trade deadline? Yeah, he didn't get it. He wanted Chase Claypool from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He didn't get it. Who got it? The Bears. I mean, the Packers are going to go into Green Bay, and they're going to lose. Green Bay, I don't know who they play this weekend. Quickly going to look it up right now. Green Bay has the Cowboys this weekend. It's a 4:25 kick. I'm telling you, the Cowboys will crush the Packers. They will. The Packers have no one on offense. It doesn't look like Aaron Jones is going to play this weekend. We'll probably talk about this game later. They also have the Titans on Thursday Night Football, so they have a short week entering Week 11. So there's a problem in Green Bay, and there is a serious problem in Green Bay. Roger did say he had some shitty throws. I mean, if you look at the highlights, they were some really bad throws. I mean, they were some really bad throws. He says frustration and miserability are two different emotions. When I decided to come back, I was all in. He was all in, and just to paraphrase, he wanted to make and obviously he's saying he doesn't make all the decisions around here. He said in hindsight that's what his words. I don't make all the decisions in hindsight. I feel like he was calling out the front office there. The front office. The Packers' offense this season is averaging 18.1 points per game, and that ranks 26th in the NFL. So they are bottom 8, right? Yeah, they're in the bottom 8 in the NFL at points per game. They are averaging 339.9 yards per game, which ranks 17th. They are 22nd on third down at 37%. So almost in every offensive category, the Packers are not playing good. They're not. Rodgers is not playing good this year. This is probably his worst season statistically. And it is. For the Lions, on the other hand, everything about the Lions are just really bad. I don't have stats in front of me. We're just talking Packers here for a minute or two. I mean, we all know the culture in Green Bay is broken. I mean, Rodgers did not, again, I'm going to say it again, Rodgers did not enter OTAs this season, during the offseason. So that is a major problem. He didn't play in any preseason games because he doesn't believe in preseason. And that is a problem that the Packers are dealing with right now, and that's why I believe they sit last in the NFC North. Actually, they are second in the NFC North at 3-6. The Vikings are winning this division. They're 7-1. I mean, we might talk who are the biggest pretenders in the NFL this week coming up. That might be something we talk about later this week. But the Vikings are playing some good football. We will see how good the Vikings are in this stretch, because the Vikings play the Bills, Cowboys, Patriots, and Jets. And that's their next 4 games. We'll see how good they are in this stretch of games. If they win all 4, I mean, they're 11-1, and then we know this team's probably legit. This is their toughest stretch of the entire season. They did beat the Dolphins. Their only loss this season was to the Eagles, so that's why not a lot of people believe in them right now, because that was a really crappy loss against the Eagles. But that's it for football talk right now. It's time to talk some Sabres Yotes. The Sabres will play the Arizona Coyotes on Tuesday night, 7 o'clock at KeyBank Center. Headlining this game is a big headline entering this game is their black and red. Black and red goat head jerseys are back and are for sale right now at sabres.com. You can go to sabres.com right now and buy your new jerseys. The ones I found were Skinner. I might just get that one. That one looks pretty nice. I mean, these jerseys, I wasn't alive I am not that old to remember the black and red jerseys. I honestly don't remember any of the glory days of the Buffalo Sabres, anywhere from what I think was the 1990s to the early, like 2010. I got into the Bills before I got into the Sabres. I'm going to be honest with you. I was maybe a Bills fan right around third grade, and then the Sabres never really came into my life until maybe fourth or fifth grade, so 3 years later. So I mean that's really the main gist of my Sabres existence right now. I don't remember the black and red jerseys. I'm happy they're back because I mean the Sabres played great in those black and red jerseys and they look clean. They're clean and they're pretty slick. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I've been hoping for these red and black jerseys to come back, and they need, to me honestly, they need to stay. They need to stay. I mean, this is what they're going to wear 4 jerseys this year: the traditional home, the traditional away, and their reverse retro, and the black and red. The Go Ahead, honestly, is maybe one of the best logos in all of the National Hockey League. Probably the Mighty Ducks one is another good one. The Mighty Ducks one is a pretty good one. But back to Sabres Yotes here. Sabres entered this game with losing 2 straight. They lost to the Carolina Hurricanes and to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So they dropped those 2 games after after having a successful homestand of winning 3 games and dropping 1. Sabres have not dropped a game in overtime yet, but they did beat the Chicago Blackhawks in overtime, so they have played an overtime game this season. I think they are the only team without a overtime loss. I may be mistaken on that. Let's quickly check the standings. Right now, the Sabres stand sixth in the Atlantic Division after being second in the Atlantic Division just a few days ago. No, the Sabres are not the only team without a overtime loss. There's a couple teams without a overtime loss this season, just 12 games into this year. If I'm going to say the Sabres have not been playing really good hockey. I mean, they were in their homestand. I mean, they started their homestand with a loss to the uh, Montreal Canadiens. It was a pretty sad game. I mean, honestly, the Sabres should have won that game. I mean, I was pretty confident into this homestand after a pretty good road trip, but we were also coming off a 5-1 loss to the Seattle Kraken, so that's a problem there, entering that homestand. But other than that, I think the Sabres were playing some pretty good hockey before that 5-1 loss and that 3-2 loss to the Montreal Canadiens. I'm going to be honest with you, the Sabres have lack of scoring, right? They have lack of putting away scoring chances. I mean, they have really their main scorers right now is Thompson, Tuck, and Peterka. Other than that, I mean, and add Olsen to that mix. Other than that, there's not a lot of scoring going around for the Sabres. I mean, they for some reason this team does not want to get to the front of the net, right? I mean, it's no one wants to stand in front of in front of the goalie and screen him. I've been talking about this for years and haven't had a chance to do a podcast, something like this, and talk about Sabres, right? No one wants to get to the front of the net. And I think that's a problem that a lot of people are saying, right? None of these players, except maybe Gergensons and Okposo, maybe Middlestat just a little bit. Other than them three, don't get. Other than them three, none of the other players get to the front of the net. I mean, yes, Thompson has a wicked shot for one-timer. Great, let him use it. But would it be more successful if Thompson was maybe in front? I mean, you're going to get this 6 foot, like 6 beast in front of the net, and all you have to do is take a shot, and if he's in the right spot and can beat his man, he can tip that puck into the back of the net. Or he can get that rebound and tuck it in. That's something that the Sabres have been lacking, is scoring in those high chances areas, in the high slot, off a rebound. That's where I want to start seeing this team improve. And that's where I want to see this team improve. And also is their power play. Their power play, yes, they have scored they've scored a power play goal in 6 consecutive games, but it's only been 1 power play goal each of the last 6. The Sabres power play ranks 12th in the National Hockey League. That's 23%. So, I mean, they're scoring at a pretty good rate, and because they got 6 power play goals in 6 straight games, which is perfectly fine. I mean, they can have 1 power play goal each game, but they can't go how they went against the Carolina Hurricanes when they went 1 for 5 on the power play. You get 5 power play opportunities, put 2 in the net. I'll be happy. 2 for 5. 2 for 5 sounds way better than 1 for 5, or even 3 for 5. I mean, the Sabres had really good power play chances against the Carolina Hurricanes, and they just couldn't put things away. They had 25 shots in that game against Carolina. But another problem is the lack of winning faceoffs. The Sabres have not been great in the faceoff dot, and that's their lack of ability in the middle of the ice. Entering the season, we did not know who the Sabres were going to rely on for center, and I think the Sabres still don't know who they're going to rely on center, and who's going to get where the production is going to come from for center, except for Tage Thompson, who's going to be that number 1 center. Other than Thompson, I don't know who's going to play the center position for the Sabres right now. I mean, they're experiencing with Krebs and Middlestat, but I don't think the Sabres know 100% who's going to play the center ice position. The Sabres against Carolina went 39%. That's horrible. That's a horrible stat. 39%. And the Sabres improved to 51% the following night against the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is fine. I'm perfectly fine with 51%. It's not the greatest number, but if that's what you're going to want, if that's what you're going to have per game, I'm perfectly fine with that. Injuries. Injuries have been a demoralizing thing right now, for demoralizing activity for the Sabres right now. I mean, Dahlin, Samuelsson, and Lyubushkin. Lyubushkin missed some time with a leg injury. Granato doesn't feel like announcing Dahlin's injury, but it is an upper body injury. He did take that hit against Carolina late in that game. The game against Carolina just a couple nights ago. He did not play against Tampa Bay. Don't know how long he's going to be out. I don't think that Granato is going to tell us just yet what the specifics of his injury just yet. So we're going to have to wait on that. I think Samuelson's coming back sooner or later. I think he played against Tampa Bay. Not 100% sure. But injuries right now for the Buffalo Sabres are a big priority in this first 12 games of the season. So I guess the Sabres will definitely be better once they get some of their players back, including Dahlin, who has been having a Norris. Is that what it is? Norris Trophy, the best defenseman. He could potentially, if he keep going, he could win the Norris. Go Dahlin, go. Okay, UPL. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. He's been in the AHL. He's been also injured a few times over his career. And when he was called up to Buffalo and also in Rochester. Also, there was the COVID-19 pandemic, which is still currently ongoing, but not much of a factor in nowadays game than what it was a year and a half ago when there was no fans. I'm going to tell you this Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is a young goalie. I think he's right now 23 years of age and still developing. But I think it's time to start getting him some ice time because the Sabres cannot be relying on Craig Anderson to back up Eric Comrie all year long. They can't. They can't. I mean, Craig Anderson at 40 plus years of age, you can see it. He is not the same goalie that when he was 20 years. I mean, yeah, 20 years ago, 15. Let's just say 15. What he was 15 years ago. He's not that same goalie anymore. He's 40 years old. He has less flexibility. Yeah, he has been making some timely saves at time, but that's not gonna keep the Sabres into games anymore. He's gonna have he needs you don't really see his mobility as much anymore. He seems a bit slow to the puck. I think it's time to start seeing Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen get some time in the NHL. Whether it's maybe in December or late November, but I want to start seeing Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen get some time in the NHL because I feel like that would help the Buffalo Sabres way more than having Craig Anderson back up Comrie for 6 months. And obviously, I think Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen's time in Buffalo is coming, but I wanted to see it come sooner. Obviously, I don't want to infringe his development. If they think he's not ready yet, okay, I can wait. But how much longer do I have to wait to start seeing Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen get some more time? I don't want to see that anymore. I'm not getting impatient. Maybe I sound a little too impatient, but I also obviously do want to start seeing Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen get some time. Eric Portello, he's still at Providence, and Devin Levi, who's at Northeastern. Both of them are in their last year. Portello is at Michigan, and Devin Levi, we all know, is at Northeastern. Both of them in the last year of their college eligibility. So obviously, either they will go to the ECHL, Sabres Junior League, which is like double A, single A, yeah, double A. It's like double A hockey, or they will go to the AHL. Either one's fine for me. Just they will obviously need more time developing than Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Well, maybe he's at the same level, but almost just a little bit better. The Arizona Coyotes come into Buffalo after beating a banged-up Capitals team 3-2 just the other night. How about Lawson Crouse? 5 goals, 2 assists this season. He's building off a 34-point goals, 40-point season last year when he had 20 goals. 20 goals last year, Lawson Crouse is 25 years of age and wears the A for the Arizona Coyotes. And he's been a leader for the Coyotes in Arizona. Clayton Keller this season has 3 goals, 8 assists for 11 points this year. He's also has been a bright spot in the Coyotes lineup, and he's starting to develop into being a really good player. He's starting to find his game in Arizona. I mean, I like Clayton Keller. I like him a lot. I think he could be a really dangerous player for the Arizona Coyotes. Obviously, they're playing in a small arena. I like the Coyotes and how they're playing. Obviously, they're 7th in the Central Division, but they're going to get better, just like the Sabres are. Obviously, they might be 2-3 years behind us in development, but I think the Coyotes in about 2 to 3 seasons will be where the Sabres are right now. Trying to turn over their roster and starting to compete starting to build where they can start competing. I think that's where the Coyotes might be in 2 to 3 years. Obviously, the arena is a uh, is a vocal point right now. Is they're going to have to find an arena to play. If they're not going to sit in a 5,000 seat arena. I mean, hey, the molds are great. I like it, but 5,000 seats in a college arena, it's not going to cut it. But they're playing okay right now. They got a good coach. Let them keep playing Coyotes hockey there. Um, Mitchell Miller. You probably been hearing his name float around a lot. He was once drafted by the Arizona Coyotes. That's why I'm bringing this up, and also has been a top headline in the NHL. He was once drafted in the fourth round, 111th overall, by the Arizona Coyotes. Just a few years ago, he was picked up by the Boston Bruins. And Commissioner Gary Bettman says he is not eligible right now to play in the National Hockey League because of what happened when he was 14. What happened, you might say? He was a part of a bullying attack, a racist bullying attack back when he was in 14 in high school. So when he was 14, he was bullying with racism, which is nothing the NHL wants to be a part of, and they're trying to make change. Change is the name of the game right now, and he should not be playing in the National Hockey League. Hockey does not stand for racism. Hockey stands for unity, for black, white, Asian, whoever you are. If you are going to make racist remarks, at whatever age, if you're a 21-year-old right now about to get drafted, and we find out when you were 18 you made some stupid racist remark, you should not be in the National Hockey League. Do I also believe in second chances? Yes, I also believe in second chances. But come on, if you want to come back to play hockey in the National Hockey League, you're going to have to show us that you don't believe in anything in what you said for me to give you the second chance. But in some ways, I don't feel like he needs a second chance, right? You were part of this racist bullying thing or attack. I mean, I don't know how to phrase it. It was bullying with racism. You just don't do that. That's not what you do now. It's not. It has never racism has never been accepted, ever, and never should be accepted. If you think racism is okay, then your head is not in the right place. So for Mitchell Miller to get back into the NHL, he's going to have to get his head back into the right place, because this is not what hockey stands for. This is not what football stands for, and that is what humanity does not stand for. We don't stand for people to be rude or racist to anyone. That is not what hockey or anything stands for. We want change in this world. How we're going to make a change is by changing yourself. That's what it is, right? I mean, that's if you agree with me, those are just basic morality, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. That is that is that is as basic as I can get it. Treat others the way you want to be treated, and racism is not one. All right, let's wrap up this Sabres Yotes preview with 3 keys to the game. My 3 keys to this game is consistency. Let's play with some consistency here. Consistency in scoring, consistency on the power play, consistency on defense, and consistency in goaltending. Let's play a consistent game for 60 minutes and start a homestand, I believe that this is a mini homestand against the Arizona Coyotes on Tuesday. And two is sorry, I was trying to check my keys for a second. I wrote it down really quick. Second key is face off, get over at or over 50% at the dot. Win 50% or more of your face offs, and I'll be happy. Either get at it or over it. I mean, that can also go back into the first key is being consistent. Winning face-offs consistently has been a problem for the Buffalo Sabres. So let's see if we can improve. Stay consistent on winning face-offs. Finally, stay out of the box. Why I say that? Because Arizona has the 5th-ranked power play in the entire National Hockey League. If there has been one bright spot for the Arizona Coyotes this year, it is their power play and their special teams. So again, the 3 keys are consistency, at or 50% at the face-off dot, and stay out of the box. All right, thank you for tuning in to the Buffalo Live podcast. Next time we will be talking about my rankings, the best quarterback, wide receiver, and rushing performers of Week 9. Stay tuned for that. We'll also talk a little Sabres hockey and some NHL news that will happen in every episode. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel for the latest clips on the show. Also on the YouTube channel in the coming future, live Sabres and Bills games and other live Bills college football and Sabres games coming in the near future, commentated by your host Paul Kasperzak here of Buffalo Live. Stay tuned for that, and in the near future, also follow Twitter. My Twitter handle right below Twitter at Buffalo Live Pod. Give a follow there for the latest content around the Buffalo Bills and Sabres and NFL news and NHL news. For that, I'm Paul Kasperzak signing off.